Okay, welcome to part two of using the database program Base, LibreOffice Base. And in this session, I'm going to look at the query questions in the exam paper that we looked at in the first part. So let's start by opening up a database, and let me just get rid of a simple screen recorder. That's what I'm using to do this. Okay, you click on the Raspberry and go down to Office because it's an Office program. And then we've got it, LibreOffice Base, the database program of LibreOffice. First screen we get says, do you want to create a new database? Or do you want to open an existing one or connect to an existing database? And we're going to open an existing one. And you can see my last one I used, that's the one we used for the first part of the course. It's there ready for us, and I can click open. So it takes me to the folder containing the stock control program, and I click on open to open that. Well, there it is. That's what we've done so far. It doesn't look like much, but if we click on tables, that's where we store our data. You can see we've got one table in there called stock items. I'll stress this, as I've stressed it before, in a real world database, you would probably have a lot of tables. So let's open up the tables. We can simply double click on it like you can with most things. And there we go. That's the table that we have at the moment. Now I've added some data to it. I haven't added it all, but that's enough for us to, actually it's not enough for us to think about. I'll pause the video there and update the table. Okay, as you can see, I filled in the table with whoops, let's get rid of that. Filled in the table with the data that we were collecting, and I've just realized I've got pounds sterling in here, not kwacha, apologies for that. But, you know, it'll do, only because I can't find the kwacha. Okay, so we've got a database there, and it's full up. And anything special about it? Well, if you remember, we had to set the price as kwacha. That was okay. What else did we have to do? We had this thing special, which was Boolean, yes, no. The rest is pretty normal, I think. All right, let's shut this down. So that's the stock items. That's what we did in the first video. Now what we've got to do is create a query. So we'll click on queries. Now there's several ways of creating queries, as you can see from here. You can use a query wizard. You can write a query in SQL, structured query language, or you can create a query in design view. Now, I'm going to create the query in design view, but before I do that, I want to tell you why I'm using that, because that's not necessarily the most obvious. Most people will go for the wizard to create the query because it takes you through stage by stage the things you need to do. And if that was a database you were just setting up yourself, that might be okay. But this one, we've got some challenges from the exam paper. And whenever you've got challenges, wizards usually don't work very well. They assume certain things. So we're going to create the query in design view. That's the basic way to do it. So we'll click on that. And the first thing it asks us is say, well, what tables are you going to use for this query? And we've only got one. That makes it very easy. Normally, as I say, in commercial databases, you'd have several tables there. So let's select stock items, already selected, there's only one. and click on add. So we've added that to our query. So basically what that does, it gives us all the fields. They're all available to us. Okay, as we go along, I'm going to save it because I've had horrible experiences. Oh, nothing selected. Okay. Right. So what is the query about? Well, it's asking us to look for certain things. We want, first of all, it says sort the data into ascending order of province. The next thing we got to do is contain a new field called cost, which is calculated at runtime. That when we run the query, this field will calculate the price multiplied by the reorder number. The third thing we got to do is show only the records where the stock is 50 or less. That's sneaky. 50 or less, that means less than or equal to, because that's the sign we're going to use, less than or equal to 50. And the product is a special order, so we'll be using that Boolean thing. Okay, what else have we got to, right, it says show only the fields province, product, stock, price, reorder, special, and cost. Cost being the one we are creating at runtime, as they say, by multiplying the price by the reorder. Okay, so because they want it in that order, I am going to put them down here in that order. So the first thing to notice, when we click on the field row, it says, oh, you can have this very first one says stock items asterisk star. If you choose that, you will display all the fields. Now we don't really want to do that. We may have to mess about with it, but we don't generally want to display everything. So the first thing I'm going to do is select province, because that's the first thing they're going to display. So we got province. The next thing is product, so I'll go to the next field, and that's going to be product. Where's that? There it is. And the next thing to display is stock. Stock, there it is. You can notice as we go along, it makes them visible. So if I didn't want to display any of these, I would just untick the visible bit. Stock. Price is another one they want. Price, there it is. The next field they want to look at is reorder, the reorder level. Reorder, okay. And then special, they want to see whether it's special or not. It's yes or no Boolean. And then the final thing they've got is this thing called cost. Well, we haven't got a cost yet. So when we go into this column, we're going to multiply price by reorder number. So we got price. So I got to put it in quotes because it's the way this thing does it. Quote price P I C E. Obviously, price has got to be available. Doesn't have to be displayed. It's just got to be part of the. Oh, whoops. Put a quote around price. I always put a space in, but some people just put the asterisk. That's the multiply sign, asterisk. And reorder. So I think in all cases it'll be 50. So you could actually put 50 there, but let's do as the examiner wants. Reorder. Okay, so we'll put a shift in there. Now, hopefully we'd have got that wrong. If you haven't, then when you click below, you'll see what it is. Now, that's collected all our bits together. But there's this little thing here called alias, and that's quite important here. An alias is what you want to call the field if you don't want to call it what is displayed above. So province, you call that province. You don't need an alias. Product, you don't need an alias. Stock, you don't need an alias. But over here, for price times reorder, we don't want to see that. We could see that, it wouldn't be a problem. But the question says call it stock. So the alias for, sorry, cost. So the alias is cost. And there we go. Right, simple, isn't it? Right, so that gives us all the fields. Now we've got to think what we want to do with them. Let's have a little look. Well, the first thing we want to do is sort on province. So there's province, and we go into the sort. It's not sorted. Sort ascending. Does the paper say whether it wants ascending or not? Yes, it says ascending. That's good. Now, what are the things? Well, that's the first bit done. That was easy. It contains a new field which calculates the runtime. Well, that's that over there. We've done that bit. Shows only the records where the stock is 50 or less. So less than or equal to 50. So the criterion here is the reorder. There. The criterion is, now this is a little bit sort of mathematical database stuff. Less than or equal, whoops, not less than, less than or equal to. That's the symbol for less than or equal to. Greater than equal to will be the greater than symbol and then equals. If you just wanted it literally less than, then you could put less than 50. But of course, that would exclude 50 because 50 isn't less than 50. So that's what little trap there for you. But never mind. Less than or equal to 50. Okay, and then the next thing, show only the fields. Well, we've got that selected. We're happy with that. And there was one other thing. Oh, yes. Show only records where the stock is greater and the product is a special order. So, a special order. Now, the special order is 1 if it's a yes and 0 if it's a no. It's a Boolean thing. So we want to have the special to be identified. So we're going to have to put 1 in there. If it said exclude all the special orders, you'd put a 0 in there. That might take a little bit of thinking about. I guess the teacher will explain that to you. Okay, so there we are, 1. Now let's go through it again and see what we've got. Yes, we've got the province, product, stock, price, reorder, less than 50, less than or equal to 50. The special is 1 because it's got to be yes, and the price and reorder, that looks good. Now, obviously, if you're in an exam, you're going to be under a lot of stress and trying to do things. But if you've got time, it would be worth you thinking through what would be displayed. Let's save this first of all. Now, oh, give it a name. Yes. Did it ask us to give it a name? No, it didn't. Yes, these questions can be a little bit funny like that. What will we call this? Well, order, I think we could call it. This is what we're going to order. Or you could say special. Special. Or orders. So this is orders for the special group. With a query, it's always good to give the name something which sort of works. Okay. Now, in a minute, we're going to run this. This is the symbol for run. But before we run it, I just want to have a little think about this. If you look at the actual data on the sheet you should have, you can see the things which are less than 50 are soya beans, and they're special, and sorghum, which is also special. So they're the only 2 things that should be displayed. I think. Am I always right? No. So that's what I think. So now I've had a little think about it, and I know what I think I should see when I click run the query. So let's do that. Let's run the query. Click on it. What we see there are the things which are less than or equal to 50 and are special. That's a bit of a relief that what I thought pops up. But in the exam, you might not be able to have the time to think it through. Don't spend hours on it because you've got other questions to do, but it's always worth having a little look at that. Okay, I think that's that. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.